73, and I am doing great. The in-between story was that I had a massive attack that paralyzed me from the neck down, and I went to a nursing home for 6 weeks and was unable to feed myself, dress myself, do any of the normal activities of life. And during that period, I understood in a way that I never wanted to understand what it is like to be, to have a deep disability, to be completely disabled from the neck down. So after a long period of, and many episodes of recovery, my son brought me to Tai Chi and Qigong. And then I began to recover. And so my recovery is about 20 years in now. And I had been in an electric scooter, a wheelchair, crutches, braces, the whole thing. This is what's left. That's what's left. Woo! When you ask me, what's wrong with your leg, Anna, I'm like, not much. Compared to what it was. I am unable to bend at the hip like this. I don't have flexion in my hip. I don't have flexion in my knee, and I don't have flexion in my ankle. So all of this has been rehabilitated. My nervous system has been restored, and I am so incredibly thankful for Qigong and for the energy that is available. And when I first started with Tai Chi and Qigong, I had no teachers who knew how to address my needs. I would sit on a little stool on the back of the class, roll in on my scooter, sit there on the little stool, wave my arms, and try to figure it out. And if my son had not been there, my two sons were in there, if they had not been there, I would have been gone, because no one was there to understand how to support me. And everybody was standing. It was a class at the University of Chicago, and they were all students, and they were strong. So my recovery has been one of learning how can I live, how can I regain my energy with the best maximized, potential that I have, and also how can I pass that on to others? So you are my dream come true. How long? So I'm going to sort of teach you like I would teach one of my classes. I do this at least twice a week. I have students of all abilities in my classes. And I was doing a number of the, some similar kinds of movements way before I started Wisdom Healing Qigong. So it's coming together of a lot of years here. Some surprising things. I would like for you to experience the feeling in your body of how energized you can be from a seated position. Yes. I would like for you to just embody the power flowing through you from a different perspective, a different position, something that you haven't done before, and to be surprised that folks like me and those other seated people who need to sit and maybe then stand and then sit again and then maybe stand again, all options are open here. That we, people like me, can be empowered and transformed. We have a path open to us. So, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to kind of look out here, and sometimes I'm going to kind of imagine what I'm seeing, like I'm like it's my class in front of me, okay? So first of all, let's just think about this room. When you walked in here, if you were a disabled person or had a weakness or pre-surgery, post-surgery or whatever, if you walked into the room, there was a chair available for you. There were some people who were anticipating and watching for your needs. They were caring about you. And also somebody who was trained to see those needs and alert, and somebody there that you could trust to bring something to you that is going to help you to feel better, feel more empowered in your environment, and to have hope. Hope. That is the coin of the realm. If you see something that gives you hope, you can go very far on a very little bit of encouragement. Something happened there, and I saw something that said, I'm going to be able to do better. I'm going to have a better life. I'm going to feel better. So this is what we want to experience here in this. So, welcome to my class. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to have good posture, okay? And that means that we're not going to be back on our chairs, kind of like this. Like this. Like this, okay? Like this. Like this. I look out at my classes and I see all kinds of things. So my feeling about being a teacher of the seated position is that everybody needs good seated posture. Everybody. Not just the people who have some kind of, issues or problem. Generally speaking, the seated posture is poor because we are looking like this at our computers, our phones, etc. So, as a teacher, you can think about this. When you are upgrading, when you are helping people with their seated posture, you are helping to upgrade, uplift, give a better idea of what your body needs to be doing when it's seated, no matter whether you're in a class or something else. So whatever we do here in class with posture, we need to take that into the home and encourage people to do that. So the posture. I spell things out very clearly. I don't leave anything to the imagination. People do not intuit what to do from a seated position. If they see somebody doing it up there, it doesn't occur to them that they can do it. So the seated instructions are important, and how you express that is important. You need to learn those movements. You need to learn those ways of talking, of relating, so that people can actually embody it right on the spot. So, no backs like this. Gonna have a straight back. You're gonna have your tailbone tucked under. You're going to have the crown of your head up. You're going to have your shoulders open. And you're going to have your feet grounded on the earth. So feel what that's like with your seated posture. I literally have people put their hand on the back of the chair and push forward, okay? Because otherwise they're down like this. And all the rest of what we're going to do in the seated position relies on posture. If your posture is down like this, which you don't think about too much when you're standing, but when you're seated, if people are down like this, they're not going to be able to open the lungs, open the heart, open all of these areas that need to be, have the flowing of the energy. They're not going to be able to do the hip circles because their hips are going to be locked down by being crunched down into their bodies. They're not going to be able to open up the spinal column when their spinal column is crushed down. So everything else that we're going to do depends on the good posture. Chin in, crown up, and we are uplifting with our modeling, we are uplifting the posture of everyone around us. We are uplifting the alignment. We are conveying an energy of life because we all sit most all the day. So very important, okay? Okay, so posture, very first thing. All right, now, the next, I'm going to focus on certain parts of Awaken Vitality because they are the parts that need the most accommodation and are a little bit surprising in comparison to the standing version. So I'm not going to do so much with the crane's neck or with the chin chi because those are, people can do those from a seated position. They're going to need reminding constantly of the posture when they are doing those things. So that posture is going to be emphasized in your teaching, in your practice, all the way through when you're doing the seated version. So I'm not going to spend so much time there, and I'm going to not spend so much time on the energy ball at the end. We want to really get into the nitty-gritties here, okay? And so I'm going to move through this, mainly right now. Feel in your body, feel the differences of what it's like to do these movements from the seated position and get deeply into it so that you can know what that person out there needs to feel so that they can do that transformation that they are longing to do. Okay, so we're going to start with the spinal bone marrow, and this has some juicy elements to it that I find are very helpful in bringing up the skill for those who are unfamiliar, completely unfamiliar. They're not familiar with their bodies, okay? They come in weak. They might have had, an injury or, a shoulder problem or arthritis or, all kinds of things could have happened. But when they come in, a lot of times they're weak, especially if they're just new students. So our job is to bring the level up, and there are some stages in there. Ming Tong has talked so often about stages of learning. And the stages of learning for the standing position, there are stages of learning for the seated position. And sometimes we really need to know what those steps are that are going to help move people forward and become stronger and standing. So, letting you know also in my classes, I go in with the expectation that everybody's going to learn the seated position. Everybody, because it's going to be good for them. They are going to learn something they could not learn as well or as deeply, and they will experience something in their bodies. So I always have a partner, and one of us, if one of us is always standing and one of us is always seated, I make sure that every one of those precious people like me feels cared for. So that's where we come in there, is with the heart. We come in there caring for every person and how they're going to develop. Okay, so spinal bone marrow. First of all, when we're doing spinal bone marrow, standing, you are rotating your hips to the side like that, right? Okay, that does not happen when you're seated. Your hips are tied down to the chair. Okay, so how are we going to maximize that turning of the body? Okay, so there are some wonderful ways to do that. Okay, and also we want to get the articulation between the lower body and the upper body. We want to have that turn in the spine. And though you can do that when you are standing because your hips are helping, you're going around a little to the side like that, and then you are able to use that turn of the hip to get the spinal turning up here, okay? Not so easy when you are seated, okay? So, we're gonna bring the hands up. So bring your hands up, make sure everybody's got your feet on the floor, well-rounded, or on your pillow, whatever, okay? You're gonna bring your hands up, and first of all, the first thing to know is a lot of people cannot hold this position. This is a difficult position. Their arms are not accustomed to being in this position. They're usually more like this. Okay, so when they're trying to go from here to here, that's a big move. So usually people, when they first come into class, are not able to do this. So I make sure that they know that when they are feeling really awful and feeling like they're gonna fall and their arms are just gonna drop, they can modify that position. And here are the ways. They can bring the hands lower, okay, to whatever position they need to make them feel comfortable. Comfortably challenging, that's a fantastic way to talk about it. Comfortably challenging. For some people, this is challenging. Okay, they can't hold their arms out like this. So finding the level and then assuring them that they can then lift up. They can take a little break. They can go down to where they feel a little more comfortable. Then they can come back up again, and they can continually adjust so that they can gradually strengthen themselves. Okay, so another way is to bring the hands closer. Okay, it changes the shape of this space right here in the middle. So they can bring the hands closer and gradually push it back out again. So we've always got a person up here modeling the good form. So they're always seeing a good form, okay? They're always seeing a good form. And then occasionally we give the reminder, you know, you look over here and you see somebody sinking. So you keep your eyes open. And we say, it's okay to bring your hands in, okay? So they can bring their hands in here, even if they need to, down lower. So continually adjusting and letting them know it's okay to change. And when they have that permission, then they're empowered to keep trying. So they can bring their hands up and then they can come down when they're tired. They can come back up or back out or in. Main thing is to empower them by giving permission. Okay? So here we are. Now we go around to the side, okay? And you'll see right away and feel in your body that when you get about to 45 degrees, you're kind of hung up there, right? Everybody feel that? You're kind of hung up right there. So you're not, your body is kind of like not allowing you to go on around. So here's what happens. They do like this, and then they swing the arms over this way, okay? This happens all the time, so we watch for it. So people will go, I'm up there doing this, and I have to train this. I have to train them in how to sit so that they get the rotation. So here's what I do. I tell them to center their thumbs on the center line of the body, okay? And then to go as far as they can and keep the thumbs centered on the bot right here, okay, or here. Sometimes I have them actually hold their hands right here while they're turning because they don't know where the center of the body is. Truly. Don't know where the center of the body is. So they can do this, keep the hands here, and then when they first start, find the farthest point of comfortably challenging, okay? And then they can find a marker on the wall, on the window, you know, somewhere like that. Find the marker that says, that's how far I can go now, okay? My first time around, that's how far I can go, okay? Then, as they go around, the next time, you come back halfway, you go around to the side, and the next time, your body loosens up a little bit. And you're able to go a little bit farther around, and you notice, hey, I went past the window frame, okay? I went past it, I've got a marker. So the body goes around this way, and then relaxes back. Now in one session, when they have that kind of clarity, they can make a big change in their rotation, okay? A big change in the rotation because they're marking it, they can see it, they're more aware of their body. Thumbs in the middle, move to the point of challenging, comfortably challenging, release, come a little farther. Release, come a little farther. Release, come a little farther. It may be a silly millimeter, but they will know when their bodies have changed. They will feel a freedom in the body that they didn't feel before. And their eyes will go like this. And you will feel happiness and joy because they are feeling this new thing, okay? So that's one way to start opening the body up in, let's try it over on this side. Feel it in your body, okay? So feel this line up here. Comfortably challenging to the side, and then release, and then a little bit more, and release, and a little bit more, and release, and a little bit more, and coming back around to the center, okay? Now I'm going to move through this fairly quickly, but I think you get that idea because you're all very sensitive to your bodies. Okay, now I'm doing something that's helping me that I'm going to share with you, and you can share with your students, because you think that your hips are tied to the chair, and they think that their hips are immobile on the chair, but they're really not. Okay, they're really not. Their hips can actually move. They can go side to side like this. They're not stuck in the forward position like this, okay? So, your hip can move forward like this, and you can get an extra turn in there. And here's how I teach them how to do that. Push this knee forward, and the whole pelvis goes.
Yes.
Okay, so put the hands up, push the knee forward, and around you go.
Whoa. How long?
How long? Okay, there it goes.
Wow.
Opened it up.
Yeah.
Feels really different. Okay, different here. Let's go around to the other side. Okay, now you're going to push the other knee forward. Okay, and feel it as you release and open and release. And now they are getting where do you feel that? Deep in the pelvis? Okay, the pelvis was stuck before. Their pelvis was not moving. Okay, now by asking them to move that knee forward, the pelvis opens up really deep inside. And they start getting a mobility, more mobility for moving around, for walking around, or whatever. Okay, another cue for how to feel and sense into your body and cue them so they can feel it. They're going around and we think about it, and anybody in a wheelchair, they do not think that their hips move. So when they discover this, it's like, wow, it's amazing. Because as soon as they discover that the hips can move this way, the energy starts flowing up the spine. And they begin to feel sensation where they didn't feel sensation before. They feel more alive, more energetic, more happy. Okay, so when people are seated, you feel your sits bones. So feel your sits bones, okay? Feel it right there, okay? Now, when you are standing up, you're not feeling your sits bones. Okay, so this is one of those surprising insights that you start to get when you are in a seated position. You're feeling your sits bones. Normally, people are thinking, well, they're not thinking about it, okay? They're just sort of stuck there, okay? So, now, as you move your hands around, feel your sits bones on the chair go like that, okay? Feel the sits bones. Feel those bones turning like that. Feel those sits bones deep down inside there moving around to the side. And then feel them move back. Okay? Now you've got the knee going forward. That's pushing this whole side of the pelvis. But you're feeling it more deeply inside because your sits bones are experiencing movement and energy. And that is also increasing the ability to turn from side to side and the feeling of the spinal turning deep inside the body. So now we are getting much more power flowing through the spine, through the spinal turning. It's what we're supposed to be getting in the spinal turning. We're supposed to get that. Okay, everybody feeling that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing is the hip rotations, and extremely important, and it feels different, just like the spinal bone marrow, it feels different because your hips, when you are standing, okay, when we are going around like this, okay, the hips are coming up and going around like this. This part of the body is stable up here. So we want to get that articulation between the upper and lower body. Now, it looks like, and you would think that you can't get that from a seated position, because here you are. Your hips are tied down, or at least you think they are tied down, but they're really not. You really have a lot more available than you thought you had. Okay. There is an energetic connection between the navel and the tailbone. Okay? Now, when we're doing the standing version, we are focused on the tailbone. Okay? The tailbone is going around like this, right? Tailbone is going around like this. We focus on the tailbone. We are not thinking so much about what's happening to the navel. But there is this energetic connection between the navel and the tailbone. You can try it out later when you're standing like this. Your navel is also involved, okay? So here's what happens in the seated position so that you can get the tailbone to move when you are seated, okay? That is, you're going to focus on the navel and moving the navel around in a circle. And when you do that, your tailbone will also move. It's magic. Yeah, okay, so here's the way I teach this. I teach it like this. Put the hand on the navel, okay? And now you are going to move your navel in a horizontal circle all the way to the front, so pooch it out in the front like that. Now you're going to move it around to the side, and now around to the back, now around to the side, all the way to the front. Do that a couple of times and begin to notice that as your navel goes around, what's happening to your hips? What's happening? They're rotating.
Wow.
They are. And you can bring your hips by rotating your navel around in this horizontal circle. You can bring your hips right up off the chair, way up there. Okay? Now around the other direction, way around to the back, all the way to the front, around to the side, to the back, and the hips start lifting up. Okay? All right. And feel in your hips right now. Feel it. What happened? They moved, right? Wow. They moved. Yeah. The hips moved. Now, we want to have this articulation between the upper and the lower body. Okay, you can get this. Your hips pretty much stay stable, and the middle part of you is going to rotate around like this. So the shoulders can stay pretty stable while the hips are rotating, and you can get a terrific energizing of the deep, deep low back, the spine and the tailbone down there. Okay? Now, many people that you are working with, many people that I work with, they don't know it moves. I mean, they forgot about it a long time ago. Okay, so they don't know that it moves, all right? So I have to teach them about that. And so in the hip rotations set here, I teach them so they, believe me, this terminology is now my technical terminology, and it took me years to find these two words. I tried all kinds of other words, and everybody was like, you know, what's going on? I did these words, and everybody in the whole room clicked in. Okay, so here it is. This is called the pooch. This is the pooch. Okay? You got your rear end pooched out, you got your chest pooched out, and then you have the tuck, which is pull the navel back. Okay, now this is a similar take on the energetic connection between the navel and the tailbone. Okay, you pooch it out this way, your navel goes way out into this space here. Your tailbone comes way out to the back here. Okay? So you get that tilting rotation there. Then you pull your navel way back, and your tailbone comes up toward your chin. So you have this like this. Okay? And it is incredible, an incredible energy workout. Absolutely amazing. So the pooch and the tuck. Technical terms there. 5 minutes? Okay, we obviously we are not going to get through all of this. So this is where you're going to have an opportunity to more. There's a lot more. And these details, you know, the benefit is in the details. This tail, and you know, tails. Yeah, the tailbone, you know, it's in the detail of that. Yeah, so there's so much more that is so surprising and so delightful for the people who experience it, okay? And for you to have that joy as a teacher is wonderful. I'm going to give you the bend over in the fast version, and then I want you to be watching on the Wisdom Healing Qigong professional site, because I'm going to be posting videos and examples, and hopefully there's also a lot of clues in there for teachers. So keep your eyes open, because through the summer I'm going to be doing more. We're going to do the bend over because it's really surprising, okay? In the bend over, the seated version, if you bend over with your knees here, your spine is not going to be very curved. See that? Try it out.
Right.
So,
Anna,
yeah.
your mic came off. You want to reattach it?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, all right. So the way I teach it is legs apart, legs apart. And obviously when we are going down in a seated position, we can't keep the legs straight. And also there is a lot of obesity. So this helps with all kinds of things, but there is a bigger curve in the spine and that we want that curved spine. We want that spine to curl over, and also we want action in the Ming Men back here, okay? So we're going to do this short version to give you an idea of what it's like. Okay. So what we do is we go down and is pull the chin toward the crotch. Yep, that worked. Pull the chin toward the crotch. And then you get the pull in like this, and the Ming Men goes up. And almost everybody from the beginning can do that. And they can therefore get that curved spine much more quickly by doing it this way. So up like this. Also, I'm going to put my hand on the outside. So watch. It's going to be hard because your heads are going to be down. Okay, so I'm going to tell you first. When I'm going to the side, I'm putting this arm, my left arm, on the outside of my left leg. I'm putting the other arm down the center, and I'm putting my chin on the inside of my leg. Then I'm pulling the chin to the crotch, and I'm raising the Ming Men here, and then releasing. Same thing around to the other side. Okay, so let's give it a try. All right, hands up, legs apart, and slowly rolling down, one vertebrae at a time, the neck, the upper back, the middle back, the lower back, and hands pressing toward the floor. A lot of people can do this. Of course, there can be the accommodation for not so far down, which some people need, but many people can do it between the legs like this. Press, chin to the crotch, lift the Ming Men. Release. Press, chin to the crotch, lift the Ming Men. Release. Press, chin to the crotch, release. Move your left hand to the outside of the left leg, the right hand down the middle of the legs. The chin goes inside the left knee. Press toward the floor, chin toward the crotch, release. Chin toward the crotch, pressing, release. Press, chin toward the crotch, and release. Moving the hands around front and then all the way around to the right side. The right arm goes on the outside of the right leg. The left arm down the middle. The chin on the inside of the right knee. Press, chin to the crotch, release. Press, chin to the crotch, release. Press, chin to the crotch, release. Bringing the hands to the front, circling the hands around to each side, grasping the legs or the ankles at the comfortably challenging position, drawing the body forward, chin toward the crotch, release. Chin toward the crotch, release. Chin toward the crotch, release. Bringing the hands up around to the center of the front, elbows next to the ears, rolling slowly up, one vertebrae at a time. Lower back, middle back, upper back, neck, and
Let's do halas to Anna while we're doing this.